Have you ever had a negative self-identity that's been causing you so much trouble? Well, if you have, I'm going to help you overcome it so that you can create master success. If that sounds okay with you, how about like the video? So back in like 2018 or 2019, when I started speaking with intention, I had a negative self-identity and it was really strong. I would look at guys like Les, Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins. I would listen to their stories and their upbringings. And I would ask myself the question, how can I compete with these guys when I've never dealt with any of the things that they've been through? With Les, growing up in a time when racism was high and also been adopted and not finding out who his parents were until he was in his 70s. Or Eric, being homeless for a long time and eating out of trash cans and taking baths in hotels. Or Tony, if I'm not mistaken, Tony was abused by his father. These guys' story, they are remembered by it. I can't relate to them at all. My negative self-identity came from the idea of that I don't think that I could be a great speaker like these guys because I've never endured some of the troubles that they've endured. People connect with these guys a lot because their stories are so powerful. How can I have a strong, powerful story if I've never been through anything like this? This is my background. I grew up in a two-parent household. I never had to deal with any kind of trauma or childhood negative stuff like what these guys have been through. Both of my parents were heavily involved in my life and they still are. I'm very close with my family and it's pretty peaceful. Like, I'm fortunate to have my family. I never had to deal with any type of stress of wondering, when am I going to eat again? Or am I going to be able to take a shower because are the bills going to be paid? I never had to worry about any of those things because I lived and I came from a stable household. So again, the idea of me being a great speaker, it was far from my mind. For a while, I never thought that I could be a great speaker because I'd never been through some of the things that these guys been through. And so I was wondering, how can I connect with an audience when it could almost be seen as if I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, even though that wasn't the case. We still had our struggles. We were living paycheck to paycheck, but it was never anything too serious where we lost our house or lost our car or anything like that. Nothing to what these guys went through. So again, I'm still asking myself the question, how can I be a great speaker? For a while, I had imposter syndrome. I didn't think that I could put myself in the category of a great speaker when I didn't experience some of the things that these guys experienced, which made their story so powerful and memorable. And it was very uncomfortable. It was limiting the way I viewed myself and what I did. And that was one of the main reasons why I procrastinated for about 2 years on actually uploading videos on YouTube. It's because of my negative self-identity. So I had to ask myself the question, okay, what can I do to get rid of this? Because this is not helping me at all. It's not benefiting me in any kind of way. So what can I do to get rid of this negative self-identity? So the first thing I did to get rid of my negative self-identity is to consciously change my belief system. I needed to change the way that I view myself. What I started to do is to stop thinking that my background was going to limit me from becoming a great speaker. You know, the things that these guys been through is very extreme. So for a lot of people, they sympathize with them and that's why they have that connection, but they don't relate to them. And so for those people, maybe it's much easier for them to relate to me because my life is more stable and simpler. And so once I started realizing that my background doesn't have to limit me, that it can empower me, my confidence started to rise and that negative self-identity started to break piece by piece. The next thing I started to do to get rid of that negative self-identity is to change the story that I believed in. Like I said, I believed that my stable background was going to limit me from becoming a great speaker. So I started changing that story by telling me that I am a great speaker. I started feeding my mind some positive affirmations so that it can stick and stay inside my head and so that I can feel that it becomes true, or so that I can feel that it will be true or is true. Negative energy is so powerful, so you have to consciously feed yourself positive energy to break it. And that's what I kept doing to break that negative self-identity piece by piece some more. You can even look at my Instagram. I have as my bio I'm the number one speaker of all time, a number one greatest speaker of all time. And I truly believe that because no one could do what I do. No one could speak the way I speak. No one could tell my stories the way that I can. Therefore, there is no competition. There's no reason for me to compare myself to these guys. Now, I respect them a lot, and I really want them to continue to be successful. But I like me as well. And that's what I had to start realizing. You got to start liking yourself. You got to start thinking yourself on a high level in order to break that negative self-identity. Once I started to realize that no one can do what I do and I'm a great speaker, oh, my confidence shot up. Oh, it went out the roof. I'm telling you. And it's because once you start to tell yourself something over and over again and you start to feel it, it becomes a part of your new identity. And that's what you want to do. You want to start reinforcing positive energy to create a new positive identity so that you can create the success that you want to create. Now, the last thing I did to really shatter that negative self-identity is to reinforce positive energy with inside my mind. On numerous occasions, I've said that negative energy is contagious and is everywhere. So you really have to continuously bring positive energy within you and in your inner circle so that you could conquer those negative thoughts. Now, I already mentioned these guys who I was listening to, so I was listening to them to gain wealth of knowledge to empower my mind. I was reading the most that I have ever read in my lifetime at that point in life, and I was also being conscious of the things that I was giving my attention to. I was no longer giving my attention to negative energy, whether it be social media or TV shows or movies. I was consciously watching and allowing my mind to see things that filled my mind with positive energy. Now, all of these things that I've mentioned that has shattered my negative self-identity, if you consciously do them and apply them to your life, oh, you're going to be filled with confidence. I'm telling you, you don't have to worry about a negative self-identity again once you apply those things that I just mentioned. You will never have to feel low about yourself. You will never have to have a lack of confidence once you begin to do these things. And I hope you do them because I want you to be successful.